children, get comfy in your beds. Now it has come to my attention, or rather your schoolmaster rung me up and brought it to my attention. You see, he called me and he said to me, he said, "Is this Mr. Robin? Mr. Christopher Robin?" And then he told me that you, my children, have been sitting alone during your lunch hour. Tut, tut. Now, don't misunderstand me, I'm not upset, but no father wants to hear that their little ones are lonely or unsociable, so for your bedtime story this evening, I think it best if I share a little tale from my past, which took place in the great outdoors of the 100-acre wood. Now, this story is entitled, Pooh Goes Visiting and Gets into a Tight Place, told by my father, your grandfather, Mr. A.A. Milne. Now, I am sure that you all remember the 100-acre wood very well, for I've taken you there many a time, and I am sure that you also remember my oldest, my dearest friend, a silly old bear, Mr. Winnie the Pooh. Now, if there was one thing that Mr. Pooh Bear loved, it was undoubtedly his 11 o'clock breakfast. But you see, my dears, Pooh had completely run out of honey, which we all know is truly the only thing that real bears from the 100-acre wood eat. And so Pooh thought and he thought and he thought. That made a lot of thinking, and well, he realized that he didn't want to eat his meal alone, and well, he didn't have any honey, so he remembered our dear friend Rabbit. Now, if there was one thing that Rabbit was good at, it was at saving food. So Pooh scurried over to Rabbit's abode, and well, he stuck his little head into Rabbit's hole, and I can still remember Pooh's black beady eyes, and well, he called out for Rabbit. And then he waited a moment, and then he had to wait another moment. But finally he did hear a little squeaky voice cry out, "Nobody is home." Now, I will admit Pooh is not the brightest of bears, but it did dawn on him that in order for somebody to say that they are not home, they in fact have to be home. So Pooh alerted Rabbit that it was merely a friend, no reason for him to be afraid. And Rabbit, realizing that he was no stranger, invited Pooh in and offered to let him stay for some 11 o'clock breakfast, which, with no surprise, Pooh accepted. And so Pooh began to feast on honey and condensed milk, all the while rubbing his little tummy, and you know what? Pooh enjoyed that meal so much that he ended up eating every last drip of honey and every last drop of milk. And one might say that he grew quite a few sizes that day. In fact, his stomach grew so large that it was about the size of your pillow right there. Yes, the big fluffy one, so big. And well, Pooh, seeing that he'd eaten everything at his disposal, saw no reason for him to stay any longer, so he said his goodbyes to Rabbit and began to exit through Rabbit's front hole, and then well, he got about 50% of the way out when suddenly, my dears, everything became rather difficult. You see, he was stuck. Because of his big round belly, he was stuck, and so Rabbit tried to push him, tried to shove him, tried to get him out of his front hole, but it was useless. He was wedged in too tight. And so, Rabbit realized that they needed another friend to inspect the situation. Now, this is where I come in, my dears. You see, I was, collecting clovers in the far corners of the wood, as I usually did on sunny days, and well, Rabbit hooked his way over to where I was and alerted me of Pooh's awful predicament, that of being stuck in a hole, and well, we rushed back to Pooh's side and tried the same tactics as before. I pulled, Rabbit pushed, but again it was useless. Now, I pride myself on having been quite a good thinker, so I came up with an idea. We we're just going to have to wait until silly old Pooh thinned out, which according to my calculations would take about a week. Now, of course, dear Pooh is not too excited about this idea. It did sound awfully lonely to be stuck in a hole by himself for a week, and well, I surely did not want my friend to be alone, so I told Pooh I had a surprise coming his way. And indeed I did. You see, I had a gathering of sorts, and I invited all of Pooh's dear little friends, such as Piglet and Eeyore and Tigger. Do you remember Tigger? And well, we had a meeting, and at this meeting we created a schedule. And on the schedule there was a certain amount of time dedicated to each person to entertaining Pooh. And I mean, we would do all sorts of things. Piglet would play the question game, Rabbit would read books, Eeyore would mainly nap, and I would just talk with Pooh. We were really kindred spirits. We never needed an activity to occupy us. We could just pass the hours by talking and dreaming. But you see, my dears, the special thing about this situation was that we all had something to offer Pooh. Through our friendship, we all had a special gift to give him. And so before we knew it, the week had completely passed by, poof! And we all determined that it was about time to pull silly old Pooh out of his sticky situation. So all of us, I mean, Kangaroo, Tigger, Owl, all of us, we all side by side grabbed onto Pooh, and on the count of 3, we all pulled him out. And rather like a corkscrew, Pooh popped out of Rabbit's front hole. And do you know the first thing he did when he was free of that hole, before he ate honey, before he did anything? He thanked his friends, because he knew that it was only because of his friends' assistance that he was able to be free of that hole. And so, my little darlings, why did your papa tell you this story? Well, I think that you and perhaps some of the other children at your school, maybe you are feeling stuck because you don't know how to make friends. Well, let me tell you this. Just like Pooh, when I knew that it was not good for him to be alone, I know that it is not good for you to be alone. So I want you to promise me that you will not wait for friends to come to you, but that rather you will be friends to others. And I know you can do this. I know you can. So don't allow yourself or anybody else to ever be alone. Now I can see that you're all rather tucking out. I've kept you up too long. I can see that now. So go ahead, my dears. Close those eyes. Close those eyes and dream. Dream of these tales from the 100-Acre Wood.